Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Wow, look at you all. How's everybody doing? Listen, this is Cutler. It's already the 7th of the month. It's the 7th of October. It is a Thursday, and I'm only here for 1,800 seconds. I want to thank you all for showing up early, bright and early tonight. If you are just passing by my channel for the very first time, let me please implore you, beg you, ask you to stop. Just give me 1,800 seconds. I promise you that's all I need. Really, tonight, that's all I need because this channel is about motivation. It's about inspiration. It's about showing up and taking a look at ourselves at the end of the day, doing what we call inventory to see how in the world can I show up a little bit better tomorrow than I did today. It doesn't mean that today was a wash. It doesn't mean that today was all bad. It doesn't mean that today was a flop. How many of you had a great day? You had a good day. You had a positive day, but you still believe and you hope that tomorrow can be a little bit better. That's why I'm here tonight. I'm on fire. I'm really wired. Listen, I want to thank you all for showing up because what we do, please, if you're just passing by my channel, here's what I want you all to do. Come on to the front seat. This is the largest front seat in social media. I see some of you are already there. But listen, we're going to be inspired tonight. We're going to be motivated. We're going to be challenged to show up and become better. We're going to show up and become better tomorrow. All right. And we're going to do that because we're reading quotes. But you all know, listen, I want you all to go ahead and subscribe. If you haven't, make sure that you subscribe. Tell other people, come on and subscribe for goodness sakes. And then after you subscribe, do a thumbs up or do a thumbs up when you come into the conversation. But then also, here's what I want you to do. I want you to click on the notification bell because it lets you know whenever I've gone live. It lets you know whenever I've uploaded new content. All right. Tonight, we have a wonderful conversation, lots of stuff to talk about. Tell people come into the chat room. I'll talk about the LTTC VIPs in just a moment. But as I often do, I want to start the conversation with this starter, this teaser. How much, don't you all laugh at me either, how much outdated food is in your pantry? How much outdated food is in your pantry? How often do you clean out your refrigerator? And here's another question. Do your door hinges ever get rusty? How much food, how much outdated food is in your pantry? This is going to be a wonderful conversation. How often do you clean out your refrigerator? And do your door hinges ever get rusty? We're going to talk about all that and so much more. And I'll talk about the LTTC VIPs as soon as I come back. But meanwhile, go ahead and do a thumbs up on the conversation and tell people, for goodness sake, come on, let's talk to Cutler. I'll be right back. Let's talk to Cutler.
One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk to Cutler.
Listen, you all, I know you're like, Cutler is really charged and on fire tonight. And I am, but let me tell you all this, just in case you didn't know. You all hear that wonderful singing, woo, come on, let's talk to Cutler. I mean, I hit bad notes, flats, all that kind of stuff. But listen, the one who's singing that, give a shout out to my friend and producer, Devin. She's in the chat room, but she and Juan are the ones singing. You all make sure you say a special hi to Devin. All right. And then let me just say this. The LTTC VIPs are the people the top 3 people who hop in the chat room. And tonight there are Annie Cutler who says, let's get aboard, let's ride. K Sharp says, good evening. Tracy Johnson says, hey everyone, good evening. All right. So good to see all of you. Let me tell you what we're doing. We're reading from this book, Billboards to Better, 366 daily sources of motivation and inspiration along the highway of life. Cutler, what is this book about? What is this channel about? What's going on here? This is my 7th book. It's available over on Amazon.com. You don't need it to join the conversation, but it certainly helps. It is a pick-me-up. It is a conversation starter. It is a source of motivation and inspiration. There's a quote for every day, including leap year. And then there are some bonus quotes in the back of the book. So if you don't have it, run on over to Amazon and pick it up because each Tuesday and Thursday I'm live and we're reading quotes from the book. We're reading quotes from the book. All right. And as we're reading quotes from the book on Tuesday and Thursday, we read Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and on Yes, on Tuesdays we read Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and on Thursday we read Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Saturday there's a quote, yes, but take it, let it be the start of your conversation. Let it become a source of meditation. Whatever you want to, just use it. All right. I want us to go ahead and get started. I used to try to cover three. I don't know if I'm going to cover three tonight, you all. So I want to go ahead and get started. I really, really do. All right. So here's what I want to do. The quote for October the 6th, you all, the quote for October the 6th, because I asked you all, I started this conversation by asking you all how much outdated food is in your pantry. How often do you clean out your refrigerator? I won't even get to the question about rust just yet, but I want to go to the quote for October the 6th. It says, "You will never know peace until you drain the toxicity from your life. You will never know peace until you drain the toxicity from your life." You all go ahead and do a thumbs up on the conversation for me, all right? Because this quote, it is about self-care. You all know I'm big on self-care, but this is about self-care. It's about self-maintenance. It's about self-preservation, self-love, self-lifting, self-edification, self-improvement, just making oneself better. And I can talk about this tonight because one of the darkest periods in my life, I'm going to be very transparent with you all. One of the darkest periods in my life was when I walked through a season of self-doubt, self-pity, self-loathing, self-deprecation. And you would have never known it to look at me. But my life was filled with toxicity. And I pray and hope that's not the case for some of you, but my fear is that it is the state of being for so many people, walking through these seasons of self-doubt, self-pity, self-loathing, self-disapproval. That's what deprecation is, self-disapproval. And people in your own space, in your own circle, sometimes don't even know it, that you are in those dark spaces. I've been there. So this conversation tonight comes from a very personal space for me. It comes from a place of I've lived there. I've won the trophy. I got the t-shirts and I even got the scars to prove it. So this is a reminder that if you truly want to have peace, this quote is about peace tonight, you all. And if you truly want to have peace, then you've got to do self-inventory. You've got to do self-inventory. You've got to look at the things that occupy the space on your shelves. That's where I'm going. You've got to take a look at the things that occupy the space on your shelves. And you've got to remind yourself that there are some things that just cannot coexist in your life. They just can't. Sometimes people have lived so long without peace until they don't even know what peace is. They don't even realize that they don't have peace. And this evening, as I was reading this quote and as I was thinking about this conversation, I thought, my goodness, there are so many what I call enemies of peace. Sometimes people live without it so long until they don't even know that they don't have it, you all. But they're what I call enemies of peace. If you are always angry, if you're always miserable, if you're always frustrated, if you're always unsettled, if you're always on edge, if you're always short-fused, suspicious and skeptical, short-tempered, these are symptoms of the possibility of no peace. If you don't trust anybody, you're always untrusting, doubtful, fearful, always scheming, plotting and planning, vengeful, a busybody, nosy and gossiping. If you're evil and nasty, you all, these are what I call enemies of peace. And how many of you all know that there are people who live with these enemies for so long until sometimes they don't even realize that they don't have peace? But I want to share the light on what the enemies of peace look like, you all. And unfortunately, some of us are creatures of habit. I'm going to come back to the shelf and cleaning out the refrigerator in just a moment. I'm going to make it all make sense. Some of us are creatures of habit, and we have become comfortable in our states of being. But as I just listed those enemies of peace, you can't become friends. You can't become content and become friends to the enemies of your peace. Some stuff just cannot coexist. Some stuff just should not live together. Some stuff shouldn't even try to dwell together. Darkness and light, how can two walk together except they agree? Self-hatred and self-love can never exist in the same container. It cannot. Nightmares and dreams don't occur at the same time. Ice and fire can never coexist. Why? Because they end up creating this byproduct that's called water, and it makes a mess and runs all over the place. When you have two diametrically opposed forces, you all, they create a mess. They create a mess. Peace and toxicity. Peace and toxicity were never meant to occupy your heart, your mind, your soul, or your life, because they are diametrically opposed. And you've got to learn whatever it takes. You've got to learn how to get those toxins out of your life. It reminds me, y'all, it reminds me, that's why I started this conversation like I did, because it reminds me of outdated food that sits on our shelves, in our pantries, in our cupboards, and in our refrigerators. Sometimes we just let stuff sit. I I know I've been guilty of it, and some of my family and friends will laugh at me. But honestly, you all, how many of you have one of those drawers in your kitchen that seems to be just dedicated to plastic packs of spoons and forks? How many of you are just you have a drawer in your kitchen, and that drawer is just dedicated to the plastic packs of spoons and forks and salt and pepper and napkins, that the leftover stuff that you get from the restaurants and the carryouts and the deliveries. It's dedicated to things like extra duck sauce, extra soy sauce, ketchup, mustard, jelly, straws, and toothpicks. How many of you all just have one of those junk drawers that's just dedicated to stuff? And sometimes it's not necessarily toxic stuff, but sometimes we just have stale stuff in our lives. Stale habits, stale ideas, stale ways of thinking, and sometimes stale people. They don't want to improve. They don't want to improve, and they don't want you to improve. I see some of you all do. I see I'm in good company. Thank you all for letting me know that I'm not alone. I'm not the only one of those drawers with that stuff in. But sometimes the stuff on our shelves, they're not necessarily toxic, but it's just stale. Like some of the people in our lives. Again, they don't want to improve, and they don't want you to improve. They don't want peace, and they don't want you to have peace. They don't have good family relationships, and they don't want you to have good family relationships. I think my Southernism is going to come out tonight. They ain't going nowhere, and they don't want you to go nowhere. They ain't got nothing, and they don't want you to have nothing. Listen, get rid of the stale people. How? Like you get rid of the stale food from your shelves. Stop doing this, because how many of you have said stuff like this? Well, it ain't that old. Stop saying that. Stop saying, I might be able to do something with that. Stop saying it. We do stale people the same way. Well, they ain't that old. I might be able to do something with it. Stop saying, it's probably okay to keep. No, it's not. Stop saying, well, I'll give it away. It's stale. If it's old and no good to you, why would you want someone else to have him or her? I mean, it. Why? Get rid of it. Get rid of him. Get rid of her. Stale stuff. Stop keeping stale and toxic people in your lives. And don't you dare act like you don't recognize toxic people. Some people are energized by toxic relationships. They always have to keep stuff going. They are fueled by folly and foolishness. Let it go. Thank you. Get rid of it. Throw it away. That's what you all are saying in the chat. People are saying, let it go. Get rid of it. Throw it away. Stale and stank nasty. Get rid of it. Get rid of them. Because they're enemies of your peace. They're diametrically opposed to your contentment. They are the antithesis of your living well. But I don't keep toxins around because they mess with your mind, you all. You all know toxins are poisonous. They are dangerous. They mess with your mind. Right. Some of us say, I think I can help them. But look, you all, toxins mess with your mind. Toxins, how can I put this? Toxins will cause you to put your hands on victory, but still feel defeated. Toxins and toxic people will cause you to hear the sounds of joy, but still find yourself in sorrow. They mess with your mind. Toxins and toxic people will cause you to look in the mirror at a winner and still only see a loser. That's what toxins and toxic people will do. You're still asking what are toxins? You're still asking what are toxins? Toxins are not only how we think or how we process, you all, but toxins many times are who we process. May I say that again? Toxins are not just how we think, they're not just how we process, but many times toxins, Cutler, calm down. No, don't. Toxins are sometimes who we process. And we need to learn, you all, we need to learn how to check and change the filters of our lives. Because some of us got too many toxins. And this, and speaking of doing inventory and looking at the shelves and the cupboards and the refrigerators to see what's stale and what is toxic, here is what you have to ask yourself, you all. If a person is coming and going, if a person's access and egress to your life continually leaves residue and leaves you uneasy, then here's what you need to do. Change the filter and restrict access. Change the filter and restrict access. Because what I am not going to have a heart attack, I'm not going to have a stroke, I'm not going to have high blood pressure, I'm not going to deal with hypertension fooling with toxic people. I'm not going to do it. And I don't want you to do it. Why, you all? Because our peace is too important. Some of us have fought for peace. Some of us have cried for peace. Some of us have prayed for peace. Some of us have contended with ourselves just so that we can have peace. Don't mess around and have a heart attack, a stroke, or high blood pressure fooling with people who challenge your peace. Don't do it. Don't do it. Check and change the filters. And you all, please, if this doesn't apply to you all, to give it to somebody else. But stop making excuses for the junk that you keep in your life and then wonder why you don't have peace. Cutler, calm down. Somebody said, no, don't. May I say that again? I had to learn that. Didn't I tell you all I walked through a dark place of self-pity, self-loathing, self-hatred? I walked through that. So I'm speaking from a very personal and a very transparent place. A space where I looked to some of my friends and some of my families like everything was okay, and I didn't have peace the first. Ask people in your space, ask people in your circle, how are you doing? And then for God's sakes, take the time to listen to them. How many times do we ask people, how are you doing? And before they could give us a response, we don't look them in the eyes, we don't listen to them, and we don't really communicate when they tell us how they're doing. You all, people are walking our space and our circles all the time and they don't have peace. May I deputize us tonight to be the searchers for peace in our family and our friends. So I want to say this. Stop making excuse for the junk that you keep in your life and then wonder why you don't have peace. I know I usually like to give an offering. So what is my offering to us tonight? My offering is nothing more than a proverbial garbage can. A garbage can to dump the junk. That's it. My offering is a proverbial garbage can so that we can clear the shelves of the toxic things, so we can empty the drawer of the stale things, so we can clean and clear out the refrigerator of the old things, the shelves of our heart and our lives and our minds, the refrigerators of our souls, the cupboards of our ways of thinking. I'm telling you all, you will never know peace until you drain the toxicity from your life. One of the greatest lessons, one of the most challenging and trying and difficult lessons that I learned in life. But I thank God every single day that I learned it. That is why I passionately share it with you all. I'm not yelling, I'm passionate about what I'm saying this evening. Peace is like a stream of pure water. But toxicity is like motor oil drained from a car, you all. The two were never intended to occupy the same space. Never intended to occupy the same space. I offer you tonight a proverbial garbage can to throw your junk in, your outdated stuff in, so that you can have peace. And I give you an extra garbage can to help clean out the garbage from some of the people in your lives. I didn't say the people, but some of the garbage from the people in your lives. I'm going to move on to the quote for October the 8th. I'm gonna skip the one for the 7th and go to the 8th, because I realize you all know I only have 1,800 seconds. So you all have pushed me to talk about this thing called peace, but it's important. You got to have peace in your mind, your heart, and your soul. Where would we be? How could we live without peace? Looking at these comments, check and change. Sometimes we ask how they are doing, but really don't want to hear how they are. Yes, sometimes we do that. You all be concerned about the people in your lives. Care enough about the people that you encounter. Care enough, be concerned, and trust that somebody will care about you and be concerned about you. All right, we are reading from this book, Billboards to Better, 366 Daily Sources of Motivation and Inspiration Along the Highway of Life. Please, if you haven't done so, go ahead and do a thumbs up on the conversation. Invite people to join us. And then, go over to Amazon and get the book. But I want to go over to the quote for October the 8th, but I just have to check out some of the quotes, the things that you all are saying to me. We have a whole lot of appliances to clean. Somebody said we have a whole lot of appliances to clean. The refrigerator, yes, got to clean the refrigerator. The crust in the top of the microwave and the burnt particles in the bottom of the oven. Get rid of all that junk, the stale stuff out of our lives. Thank you for saying that, Jay Song, for you, because it says to me that there are cracks and crevices in our lives. Some of it has been there so long then I say we're creatures of habit and comfort. Some of it has been there so long until we don't want to do the work of cleaning it up. But tonight I challenge you to clean it up. Get rid of it. All those places where stale stuff just resides in your thought, your mind, your soul. I gave you that whole list of the enemies of peace. Care enough and be concerned, you all, about yourself and others. I want to go on to this quote for October the 8th. But peace is important. All right. Thank you all so much for joining. I see your chats and oh my God, I'm enjoying them. I'm really, really, really enjoying your conversation tonight. I really am. I'm strengthened. I'm encouraged, because sometimes, can I tell you this before I move on to the next quote? One of the reasons I'm so big on peace, and I'm so big about having created this space and this environment of peace, because one of the things that you all never knew until I just told you all, that I really walked through those seasons. And when you get through those seasons, you understand what the fight to have peace is all about. You understand what the journey and the quest for peace is all about. And it becomes more than a cliche. It becomes more than a hackneyed expression. It becomes more than a hyperbole. It becomes more than just prose or poetry. When one says, peace is what I pray for. Peace is what I long for. Peace is what I hope for. All right? I wouldn't want to live in this world without peace. And neither would I want you all to live without it. I want us all to have peace. All right, the quote for October the 8th says this. It says this: hurt and frustration are sometimes the tools that God uses to scrape away the rust, but he still manages to leave you shiny. I better hold on with both of my hands to the sides of this chair tonight. Hurt and frustration are sometimes the tools that God uses to scrape away the rust, but he still manages to leave you shiny. As much as I am not a proponent of having to sing the song, Nobody Knows the Trouble I've Seen, I'm not a proponent of having to sing that. I do realize that for some people, it really does take the bad to make us better. I know we've all heard sayings like, you never miss your water until your well run dry. Have any of y'all ever heard that? You never miss your water until your well run dry? Or what is another quote that talks about, going through something bad, a bad experience? Here's one: a hard head makes a soft behind. Have you all ever heard that? Please let me know if you've heard either of those two sayings. You never miss your water until your well run dry. Or a hard head makes a soft behind. Some of us have gone through life. Some of us have gone through life, you all. Gone through life. And we really can vouch for the fact that there were some lessons and some journeys that we would have preferred not to experience. As a preacher would say, am I talking to anybody this evening? Can anybody attest to the fact that in life there's some journeys, some lessons that you've gone through and you preferred not to have gone through that experience? But ultimately, the lesson and the journey work together to make us better, if the truth be told. You all, this is about not despising the process. That's all it's about. It's about having the hope and the earnest expectation that everything is going to be all right. It's about understanding that your living is not in vain and that God called you out of eternity and brought you to this thing called the planet Earth to help you make here a better place. It's a reminder that you have purpose. I say it so often, y'all. You have purpose. Let me tell you what purpose is. Purpose is what makes you shine while the rust is being scraped off. Grab both sides of your seed cutler and hang on. May I say that again? Purpose is what makes you shine while the rust is being scraped off. So you have to believe in purpose and you have to believe in destiny, even when you can't see them. And when you can't fully understand or recognize what they are, you have to believe in purpose and destiny. You have to believe in your ability to persevere. You have to believe in your ability not to quit. You have to believe in your ability to navigate the hurdles of life. You have to believe in your ability to get up even when you stumble and fall. You've got to have faith and believe that you'll go on, even when you see others who have stopped. Gotta believe. Gotta believe in purpose. Something is making me shine while it's peeling the rust and scraping the rust off me. That's what purpose is. That's what purpose does. Many times, you all, many times, we just go through processes that are designed to knock the weight off of us and scrape the residue from us, because in life we accumulate things. We pick up weights that don't even belong to us and we allow them to bog us down. We pick up dust and dirt and residue and it clings to us. So we have to go through processes to knock that stuff off. And we sometimes despise those processes of being scraped and cleaned. Why? Because scraping is uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't sound good. It doesn't look good. I asked you before, one of the quotes that I started this conversation off, the beginning of this conversation, and I said, do your door hinges ever get rusty? And I would ask you, how then when they get rusty, how do you handle the rust? Sometimes we spray, I forget what the oil is, WD on it, and we'll see it drip and the rust falls. Sometimes we try to scrape and it doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. That's right. I see your conversations. It's what some of us call pruning. Going through the school of hard knocks, being refined, but understanding that the Creator does not put more on us than we can bear. I see your comments and I'm loving them. Don't worry about the scrapes. What am I saying tonight? Don't worry about the scrapes that you get in life, because I've told you all this before. I only got 1,800 seconds, but I promise I've told you all this before. God will not let you go through the battlefield and then not take care of your scars and your scrapes. So don't despise the process, you all. Do not despise the process, because whatever the process, just know that it's designed to bring the best out of you. It's pruning you, it's refining you, it's making you better. I promise you it is. One of my favorite songs by a writer named Darius Brooks. The lyrics, if I can share some of them, if I can remember them, I may be paraphrasing some of them. He writes this song to God and he says, I wish I could tell you just what I want. And I wish you would give it to me just like that. But the truth of the matter is, what I want just might hurt me. And you won't let me go out like that. You see my beginning and you see my ending. You have calculated blessings down to the penny. And it goes on to say something like, I'm trying to accept the times when you tell me to let it go, let it be. And his resolve is, you know what's best for me. Let's just don't despise the hurt and the frustrations and the things that come to scrape the rust off of us. Because the rest of this quote in the book says this, if I may share. It says, we don't realize that many times we are walking around as precious metal with rust deposits that cling to us as a result of being exposed to life and its elements. It becomes so easy for us to accept the rust as a part of our norm, because rust clings and doesn't want to let go. It takes a strong instrument and a precise tool to discern between the rust and the metal. God has the right tools to get the job done. And sometimes those jobs, sometimes those tools, you all, sometimes they're hurt, sometimes they're frustrations, sometimes they're the school, as you all say, of hard knocks. Sometimes they're the ups and the downs, the peaks and the valleys, the potholes of life. Sometimes they're the things that don't look so good. But I dare say to you this: they come to make us better. Do me a favor, you all. If you are enjoying this conversation, please do a thumbs up. It says to YouTube, I like what the guy's talking about, but it says to me, Cutler, I'm encouraged by these moments that you share. I'd like to conclude tonight's conversation, since I'm talking about the residue and the rust and scraping it off. I'd like to conclude tonight's conversation by reading from this book. It's one of my books, which is over on Amazon. The title of it is Who We Once Were. And I want to read this quote: residue. Cleansed and purified, rinsed and sanctified, but there remains a residue from the mud baths of the day before yesterday, the day I gave no thought to who I should be, would be, or could be. Scraped and scoured, polished and empowered, but there remains a residue of the adult who once played as a child who was growing, all the while not knowing what was best for me. Planted and groomed, nurtured and pruned, but there remains a residue from the weeds of an unfertilized soil, where sowing and reaping brought years of weeping for what I could not see. In the shower of my redemption I stood, washing away all that I could. A new song I started to sing, but in the tub there remained a ring, a history of where I had been, the indicator of all my sin. I wept, for all I could see was the residue. But now I see a lake called regretful, and I see a sea that's called forgetful. Where the residue is cast, at last the shame has sunk and my soul is drunk on a new wine, where this time the residue rises no more. I want to thank you all for spending these moments with me. It has been my pleasure and my honor to share this space, whatever space you've allowed me to come in. Thank you so much for sharing this space with me. Thank you so much for sharing this space. Join me here every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 o'clock. I try to be here for only 1,800 seconds, unless you all push me. You all, let's keep building community. Let's keep maintaining connectivity. Help me to grow this channel if you would. You all stay safe, stay sane. Keep your heads up, but more important than that, keep your hopes up and understand and know this, that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. Good night, all.